If you're anything like me, the only way you're going to spend more than 200 quid on AliExpress is if you're finally getting a sex doll. 550 quid to f*** that thing before August 24th? My internet history is ruined because of that joke. But when it comes to watches on AliExpress, I tend to hover around the £50 to £150 mark. But when I saw San Martin made some much needed changes to their Tudor Black Bay Homage, I decided to ask them if I could try it out. So, full disclosure, they gave me a discount on this watch, but obviously I didn't disclose that this is mainly a Prince Andrew joke channel, and my own futile way to vent about the state of politics. It goes without saying that this discount will have no impact on what I say here, but do draw your own conclusions. I'll give my 2 cents on that whole thing later. Now for the watch. Before anything else, let's just have a quick look at the specs. The most obvious thing to say is it immediately looks very impressive. It really does. The ceramic bezel shines while the handset and indices glisten and glimmer. Basically, people will think you've got a nice, if slightly flashy watch. Whether you think that's appropriate for a dive watch paying homage to the now legendary Black Bay is up to you. Personally, I'd prefer an aluminium bezel insert just to maintain the original's aesthetic. Nevertheless, the scratch resistant ceramic bezel insert is well done and it does add some visual flair to things. Here's a question, right? Why do people not call out this absolutely shit packaging? My main issue is it's plastic. Come on. I'm already ordering watches from halfway around the world, and now you're giving me yet more non-biodegradable crap that'll just sit in my house gathering dust. For f***'s sake. Just send it in some cardboard, I'm not arsed. I think big sellers on sites like AliExpress need to set an example by using recycled and recyclable materials, and I'd be happy to pay a tad more for that. One of the changes that San Martin have introduced with this iteration is the inverted mid-link of the end link. We'll get onto the dimensions later, as there's a fair bit to say on that, but basically, if this didn't have the inverted mid-link, I just couldn't get away with this size watch. The barely perceptible domed sapphire crystal means you get the kind of distortion that makes my beloved noughties indie rock still listenable. Likewise, the AR coating on the underside of that crystal make this arguably more readable than the Tudor OG in brightly lit environments. Not that I'll be frequenting those once my doll arrives. And when you wake up in the night because Silicon Sally actually makes the bed a bit too hot and you do go and check the time, just look at this thing glow. The Loom, being San Martin, is excellent. It's BGW9 and for longevity, I prefer this over C3. Whatever your thoughts might be on the brand itself, San Martin do incredible Loom, bright and balanced, the opposite of what I had written in every single school report. The bracelet and clasp are very well finished, and it's actually very comfortable thanks to those previously mentioned inverted mid-links. The clasp has a good positive action with a reassuring click to it, and the 4 micro adjustment holes mean that you should have no trouble whatsoever getting a good fit. Although San Martin have a proven track record when it comes to Loom and finishing, the PT5000 movement that's in this watch certainly doesn't, not yet at least. Nice segue. This Chinese clone of the ETA 2824 may not have much pedigree, but the numbers I'm getting out of it right now can't really be argued with. Plus, it means the watch is nice and slim at a svelte 11.5mm. How the movement holds up after a few years of use is anyone's guess. One thing to note is, it's got a ghost date position, which really shouldn't be here at this price. To be honest, I think having a date would be an improvement, as it's a complication that simplifies my life, if not the dial that it occupies. If the movement's got a date complication, just put a date in, that's it. The only place I want to find ghost positions are when I'm flicking through a Halloween themed copy of the Kama Sutra. The crown action is fine, though I do have to be very conscious of threading the crown just right when screwing it down. Again, this isn't a deal breaker for me, and I do always get it eventually. I compared my other San Martin's bezel action to a dolphin clicking, and this has got that same tone, but it's a tad lower in pitch. As if the dolphin who voiced my previous bezel has gone through puberty. Bastard. Not that I'm jealous or anything. Anyway, it's a decent 120 click unidirectional bezel, and the clicks are nice and even. Plus, everything lines up. There's no backplay either, but I would have liked the 60 click bezel, being as it is a homage to the Black Bay, or the Black Bay 58, whichever one. Still, a good effort and more than good enough for this price. However, those things aren't sticking points that should persuade you either way in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't hurt knowing that your £240 or so went on that bezel action, but what might hurt is turning the bezel itself. This is sharp, and not good sharp, bad sharp. Sean Bean starring as Sharp in the 90s TV show Sharp. You're not going to cut yourself when turning it, but if you were to catch it, it might scratch you, which simply shouldn't be an issue. I had the same problem with a cat I bought off AliExpress recently. Likewise, the end of the lugs are beautifully chamfered, but they are precariously sharp. These should have been smoothened out, because my main concern when thinking about this watch being stolen shouldn't be that the thief mightn't have any spare plasters on them. My final hang-ups with this one are maybe a bit more subjective, but the S on the crown did get me thinking, where have I seen this before? The previous shark logo that San Martin used on their crowns was cartoonish, but this more serious, prosaic one, ironically, is even more so, thanks to it looking like it doubles up as the symbol for a Scrooge McDuck-inspired cryptocurrency. The dimensions here are a little off for a Black Bay 58 homage as well. This watch isn't 39mm, it's 41mm. Those 2mm do make a difference. Please, just ask my girlfriend. And the 48mm lug to lug means that this sits on the wrist more slab-like than I would have wanted, but it does capture that, well, slabbiness of the Tudor very well, for better or worse. Thank God for those inverted mid-links on this version 2 of the watch. It means there is some movement in the bracelet, and I think the tolerances here could be better. That could just be a case of making the gap between the link before the end link being closed up a bit. Finally, the 5-link bracelet is a nightmare to adjust. I almost gave up on it. You have to use the tiny provided screwdrivers simultaneously to unscrew the rivets, which, believe me, is more difficult than it sounds. If you couldn't get past Season 3 of Lost, then this might prove equally frustrating. I did eventually get it. Not lost, the bracelet. Jack was a ghost? No, wait. The island was dead. They were dead. The Hurley... I just don't fucking know! Luckily, it is well finished and comfortable to live with once done. Unlike Lost. So would I buy this watch? Well, if you could pick it up in a sale for around £200 or so, then I'd say yes. Unfortunately, San Martin's sale discounts are less generous than NHS pay rises. Here's hoping that both of those things change in the future. If you do pick one up, get it with the PT5000 movement rather than the SW200 it's also offered with, which also would bump the price up into fleshlight territory. Although this Chinese movement is unproven, at least you've not invested as much money and you won't have a Swiss movement with that annoying ghost date position. I said I'd elaborate on the whole paid promotion thing. So I got a good discount on this watch, and almost all reviewers will say their opinion hasn't been influenced by that. Now this channel is tiny, microscopic, so I basically have nothing to lose anyway. But has my critique been influenced by the price I paid? Well, my instinct is to say no, but who knows how that discount affected my subconscious thoughts on it. All I know is that I won't be beholden to brands and individuals wanting me to say something that I don't believe to be true when I sit down and have a watch in my hands. Okay, so if you got through that little spiel without cringing so much that you shattered your teeth, you're a better person than I am. Well done for getting this far. I'll say this in every video until me and Logan Paul are fighting in a pay-per-view heavyweight bout in Vegas, but please do subscribe and like this video. It all helps in my quest to eventually batter that bastard and also pay back my £2,000 car loan from NatWest. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.